Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Kalashanji, Radha Kalashanji, Shri Radhe. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Char. Let's do it together. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devyam Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer the respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Sri Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayasha breshu nistya bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamasoke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Regular attendance on the stream on Srimad Bhagavatam, and by really service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome completely destroyed. Loving service unto the personality Godhead, who strays with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable effect. Omegantamarandasya gananjana chalakaya chakshuranmalitam yena tasmai shri guruve namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master has opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto them. Hare Krishna. Okay, if we could turn to Canto 5, Chapter 5, Text 28. We'll go through 28 and 35, and then we'll come back to 30, please. We have microphones right there. If somebody wants to read 28, please. I'm sorry. So just because we had a week off, let's do a little what's going on. So Lord Srishabadev is speaking to his sons, right? Giving them instruction, amazing instructions, right? And so now in this part, he's finished up his instruction, and now he's going to move on to his next act in life. Okay, 28, please.
Shukadev Goswami said, thus the great well-wisher of everyone, the Supreme Lord Rishabhadev instructed his own sons. Although they were perfectly educated and cultured, he instructed them just to set an example of how a father should instruct his sons before retiring from family life. Sannyasis who are no longer bound by fruitive activity and who have taken to devotional service after all their material desires have been vanquished also learn by these instructions. Lord Rishabhadev instructed his 100 sons, of whom the eldest, Bharat, was a very advanced devotee and a follower of Vaishnavas. In order to rule the whole world, the Lord enthroned his eldest son on the royal seat. Thereafter, although still at home, Lord Rishabhadev lived like a madman, naked and with disheveled hair. Then the Lord took the sacrificial fire within himself, and he left Brahmavarta to tour the whole world.
So Lord Rishabhadev is instructing his sons. He finished his instructions. But the pure devotee, when they act, they don't just act in a way that's beneficial to them or to the person that they're talking. They do whatever they do is beneficial to everyone. So these instructions that Lord Rishabhadev is beneficial to his sons, to sannyasis, they're beneficial to everyone. Okay, 29, please.
After accepting the feature of Avanadatuta, a great saintly person without material cares, Lord Rishabhadev passed through human society like a blind, deaf, and dumb man, an idle stone, a ghost, or a madman. Although people called him such names, he remained silent and did not speak to anyone.
So it said in the last translation that he lived like a madman, naked and with disheveled hair. And now we're seeing that he's going through society like blind, deaf, and dumb man. So this avaduta, what is an avaduta? A what? A free soul. Ooh. Anybody else?
Lord Nityananda.
Lord Nityananda, right? I actually thought about the same thing. I was like, oh, Lord Nityananda is an avadut is somebody who no longer is bound by social conventions. They're no longer so interested in those. And so social conventions like Varnashram Dharma, they suppress these. They no longer need to behave in such a way that for advancement, they're above and beyond. Okay, text 30, please.
Rishabhadev began to tour through cities, villages, mines, countrysides, valleys, gardens, military camps, cow pens, the homes of cowherd men, transient hotels, hills, forests, and hermitages. Wherever he traveled, wherever he traveled, all bad elements surrounded him, just as flies surround the body of an elephant coming from a forest. He was always being threatened, beaten, urinated upon, and spat upon. Sometimes people threw stones, stool, and dust at him, and sometimes people passed foul air before him. Thus people called him many bad names and gave him a great deal of trouble. But he did not care about this, for he understood that the body is simply meant for such an end. He was situated on the spiritual platform, and being in his spiritual glory, he did not care for all these material insults. In other words, he completely understood that matter and spirit are separate, and he had no bodily conception. Thus, without being angry at anyone, he walked through the whole world alone.
We'll come back to this verse and expand on it. Let's go to 31, please.
Lord Vrishabhadeva's hands, feet, and chest were very long. His shoulders, face, and limbs were all very delicate and symmetrically proportionate. His mouth was beautifully decorated with his natural smile. and he appeared all the more lovely with his reddish eyes spread wide like the petals of a newly grown lotus flower covered with dew in the early morning. The irises of his eyes were so pleasing that they removed all the troubles of everyone who saw him. His forehead, ears, neck, nose, and all his other features were very beautiful. His gentle smile always made his face beautiful, so much so that he even attracted the hearts of married women. It was as though they had been pierced by arrows of Cupid. About his head was an abundance of curly, matted brown hair. His hair was disheveled because his body was dirty and not taken care of. He appeared as if he were haunted by a ghost.
Wow. So his condition here of, looking so horrible, you could say, like dirty, his hair's matted, he's got all kinds of stuff being thrown on him, but yet he's beautiful. People are still attracted to him. And this is the potency of the pure devotee, is that these material conditionings, these material coverings, they pierce them. They're not. They go above and beyond them. For instance, Srila Prabhupada, he was in a body of a 70-year-old Indian man, and people were just so attracted to him. They loved his smile. They said when Srila Prabhupada walked in, he glowed, And so this is the understanding of a pure devotee is that the attraction of the soul, like Krishna being all attractive, is full in itself of all attraction. And so when we go beyond this material world to our transcendental spiritual self, that all attraction comes through. Okay, 32, please.
When Lord Rishabhadev saw that the general populace was very antagonistic to his execution of mystic yoga, he accepted the behavior of a python in order to counteract their opposition. Thus he stayed in one place and lay down. While lying down, he ate and drank, and he passed stool and urine and rolled in it. Indeed, he smeared his whole body with his own stool and urine so that opposing elements might not come and disturb him.
Wow. So, just, yeah, woo, right? Decides to stay in one place, right? I was talking before about him traveling, but now he's decided to just stay remaining in one place. And there really isn't a need to travel unless one is like a preacher, that especially for the pure soul who's completely surrendered to Krishna, he needs not go anywhere because Krishna will provide them anything and everything, right? Krishna is providing the birds and the animals with everything that they need. And so therefore, too, he takes care of the surrendered soul by bringing all of their needs to them. Okay, 33.
Because Lord Rishabhadev remained in that condition, the public did not disturb him, but no bad aroma emanated from his stool and urine. Quite the contrary. His stool and urine were so aromatic that they filled 80 miles of the countryside with a pleasant fragrance.
I wonder how they measured that. Wow.
In this way, Lord Rishabhadev followed the behavior of cows, deer, and crows. Sometimes he moved or walked. Sometimes he sat down in one place. Sometimes he lay down, behaving exactly like cows, deer, and crows. In this way, he ate, drank, passed stool and urine, and then cheated people in this way.
So we understand in Vedic knowledge that the stool or the urine of a human is disgusting, dirty, but of the cow is completely pure, right? That we actually can use this for fuel to like cook on. And, but Lord Rishabhadeva's body is completely transcendental. He's completely pure. So he has these boons of having a completely transcendental body. And so when he goes to the restroom, it smells good. Yeah, there you go. He doesn't even go to the restroom. So he doesn't go use the facility. Anyways, okay, 35.
O King Parikshit, just to show all the yogis the mystic process, Lord Rishabhadev, the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna, performed wonderful activities. Actually, he was the master of liberation and was fully absorbed in transcendental bliss, which increased 1,000-fold. Lord Krishna, Vasudev, the son of Vasudev, is the original source of Rishabhadev. There is no difference in their constitution, and consequently Lord Rishabhadev awakened the loving symptoms of crying, laughing, and shivering. He was always absorbed in transcendental love. Due to this, all mystic powers automatically approached him, such as the ability to travel in outer space at the speed of mind, to appear and disappear, to enter the bodies of others, and to see things far, far away. Although he could do all this, he did not exercise these powers.
Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Lord Rishabhadev had all of these mystic powers, but I mean, they're no interest to the devotee who isn't, they're just like this computer, right? What good is this computer unless I can use it for some kind of service? And so the devotee isn't so, astonished by mystic powers. They're just something there. If they can be used in Krishna service, that is good. If not, what good are they? Okay, let's go to text 30, please. We won't do the Sanskrit because it's overwhelming to me. I about had a heart attack when I see this. I'm just kidding. We'll go right to the translation. Okay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Rishabhadev began to tour through cities, villages, mines, countrysides, valleys, gardens, military camps, cowpens, the homes of cowherdmen, transit hotels, hills, forests, and hermitages. Wherever he traveled, all bad elements surrounded him, just as flies surround the body of an elephant coming from a forest. He was always being threatened, beaten, urinated upon, and spat on. Sometimes people threw stones, stool, and dust on him, and sometimes people passed foul air before him. This people called him many bad names and gave him a great deal of trouble, but he did not care about this, for he understood that the body is simply meant for such an end. He was situated on the spiritual platform, and being in his spiritual glory, he did not care for all these material insults. In other words, he completely understood that matter and spirit are separate, and he had no bodily conception. This, without being angry at anyone, he walked through the whole world alone. Purport. Nortam Das Thakur says, Dehi Smriti Nahi Yara Samsara Bandha Kanhan Tara. When a person fully realizes that the material body and the world are temporary, he is not concerned with the pain and pleasures of the body. Sri Krishna advises in Bhagavad Gita 2.14, Matrasparsa tu kunteya sitoshna sukha dukada amagnani no nityas tamstitasva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance and happiness of distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O sign of Bart, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. As far as Rishabhadev is concerned, it has already been explained. Idam sariram mam durvim bhyavyam. He did not at all possess a material body, and therefore he was tolerant of all trouble offered to him by the bad elements of society. Consequently, he could tolerate people's throwing stool and dust upon him and beating him. His body was transcendental and consequently did not at all suffer pain. He was always situated in spiritual bliss. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1861, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hirdesha arjuna tistati brahmanyan sarva bhutani yantaradani mayayaha. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are situated, let me start all over there. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. Since the Lord is situated in everyone's heart, he is in the heart of the hogs and dogs also. If hogs and dogs in their material body lives in filthy places, one should not think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Paramatma feature also lives in a filthy place. Although Lord Rishabhadev was maltreated by the bad elements of the world, he was not at all affected. Therefore, it is stated here, Sva Mahima Asvatena. He was situated in his own glory. He was never saddened due to being insulted in the many ways described above. Wow. So, Srila Prabhupada is quoting from Bhagavad Gita at the very beginning of this purport. He's bringing us to Bhagavad Gita 2:14, which is stating that the permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in the due course of time are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. They arise from sense perception, O Sayan Bart, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So this is a very clear indication of a devotee who's come through purification. They aren't, well, let's go to the other way. We can see in our own life that we could use more purification when we can see in our own life that our happiness and distress is affecting our devotional service. When we get bewildered by happiness or distress, and we are distracted by what is the purpose of our service or the purpose of our life, then we can take this as a clear indication that we have some purification to go on. What does that look like? So we have Balaram's appearance day, and we have a half-day festival, and it's a wonderful experience, and we're completely, in transcendental bliss from this wonderful experience. And then we take prasadam, we go take a nap, and then the rest of the day is watching Netflix. Oh, wow, I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but I'm saying that it's like that. When we have this spiritual enjoyment, the renunciation for the person is actually very natural. And unfortunately, though, that we use that renunciation sometimes to renunciate continuing our spiritual life. We'll do something that's spiritual, and then we'll feel like we need to, wow, I had, that was so amazing, that was so tough, let me go relax. And usually that relaxing comes in the form of some kind of activity that isn't beneficial to our spiritual life. What's this? He's talking to his sons? He's So we can strive for this purification that, because of our nature of being happy or experiencing nice spiritual pleasures, that we don't come to this point of needing to take shelter of some kind of material happiness or, yeah. So we can become like a pure devotee that, we just continue our service in the sense of what is best for our spiritual life. I'd like to be clear that I'm not saying that I don't want to be that devotee who's judging everything that everybody does and like, oh, you're in Maya because you took a nap, or I'm not saying that. I want to be clear in the fact that I'm saying that there are so many things that are within our duty, our dharma, our service as devotees. However, sometimes through happiness we decide to take more than that, right? Instead of watching one episode of Netflix with the family, we might watch 3. I'm kind of trying to push a little bit to explain that in this mode of happiness, we tend to get greedy and want to take. And our mental condition no longer becomes about what's best for our devotional service, but it becomes into an enjoyment spirit, especially in happiness. Now, on the other hand, we have distress, right? So sometimes we get into a distressful situation where we also become bewildered and we don't know what to do. Arjuna's in this situation. He's distressed. He doesn't know what to do. And so being unclear in our devotional service and our purpose, our dharma, our duty, we can become bewildered and become depressed or not continue with the service. And so I was thinking that this verse is really appropriate for today, because today is the day that Srila Prabhupada came. He left for America. And Srila Prabhupada was a pure devotee, and he also was in this situation where he was thrown in such a dirty place, right? Such a dirty situation. He was preaching to people who, weren't taking showers for days or were high off drugs. But Srila Prabhupada never wavered from his purpose. I was hearing this morning from Ajit Prabhu about how Srila Prabhupada always was focused on his instructions of his spiritual master. Everything I'm doing is for my spiritual master. That's my only qualification, is that all I've done is only for the pleasure of my spiritual master and following his instruction. And so Srila Prabhupada never was bewildered by circumstances that weren't favorable or seemingly favorable to him. When Srila Prabhupada didn't get success or didn't get the results that one might hope for in preaching, Srila Prabhupada continued. He didn't get bewildered by it. We could speak so many things about how I was in New York last December and to go to India, and we got a tour of Srila Prabhupada's walk from the place he was staying that Dr. Mishra put him in. After Dr. Mishra got envious of Srila Prabhupada, he moved him from his house to a room that he had. In the room, I say room because it wasn't a apartment or a house. It was literally a room. No facility, restroom facility, no kitchen facility, just like a room, 4 walls. And Srila Prabhupada would, just to go to use the restroom, would have to walk to Dr. Mishra's house, which was like 6 to 8 blocks, I'd say. 15-minute walk, about a 15-minute walk. Just to cook, he'd have to go walk to Dr. Mishra's house. Oh, well, I mean, a 15-minute walk, that's not, I mean, that's tough. That's not, I mean, well, Srila Prabhupada was 70, so that would be tough. Well, this was in the middle of winter, and it was one of the coldest winters ever recorded in New York. And so there was snow. So Srila Prabhupada, if you look at his shoes, he had these Indian shoes that were just like, they were just barely shoes, And Srila Prabhupada would walk through the snow for 15 minutes just to cook something or use the bathroom or to shower. And I was there in December, and it was really cold. And I was like, oh my God, I was hurting. I was in pain walking this walk. And it was like not snowing. I mean, it was cold. It was like 35, 36 degrees. But I just couldn't help but the pain in my heart, feel that appreciation, and at the same time feeling the appreciation of what Srila Prabhupada was willing to go through. He writes that he would go through hunger pains because he wouldn't go on the walk. He would just not eat. And so he'd go through hunger pains. So here we are in 2024, and we have such amazing facility. We come to Radha Kalashanji Dham, you can come and get prasadam 3 times a day, and you don't even have to cook. And we get bewildered by such the simplest things, right? So we should really need to take a look. I would encourage everybody to really look at themselves and say, appreciate, have some gratitude for this condition that we have. It's so amazing, and then B, ask yourself, what can you do to push yourself a little bit harder? What are you doing that is bewildering your service, that isn't nothing with 2 feet of snow and a 15-minute walk just to go to the bathroom? It's not that, I'll tell you, right? And maybe we can find within ourselves some little inspiration to push a little bit harder, to become a little bit more determined in our devotional service, and not waver. I'd like to mention too that I don't want to be too hard on the devotees or myself, because we heard yesterday that from, I believe it was Radhika Raman Prabhu that was explaining, that through the process of devotional service, please correct me if I'm wrong if it wasn't Radhika Raman, but I was hearing that, it was Radhika Raman Prabhu, because Drista asked the question, and basically his answer was, by asking ourselves the right questions, what is wavering me from my devotional service, or how can I get better in my devotional service, that's right there is the start of pushing yourself towards being better in your devotional service. And then reflecting on the things that aren't good for our devotional service. And then if we continue on, we can see, oh, this isn't so good for me. And so therefore, we push a little bit farther to keep that from being an impediment in our service. So we can recognize those things that aren't that are slowing us down or getting us off the path or hurting our devotional service, and we can ask Krishna to help us. Please, please help me. I need this to get past this. And so then we make a little bit more of a step, and that trust develops in Krishna stronger, and we get more confidence, and then we even overcome more, and we can continue to overcome until we become very fixed in our devotional service. So I'll stop right there. It is 8:17. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Mother Kunti, please.
All right, Paul.
Hare
Thank you very much for a very honest and open class. I've also seen, yesterday was extremely beautiful and very spiritually surcharged. Yet I woke up today realizing that even though it was so ecstatic yesterday, I forgot to offer Tulsi Puja at the Tulsi Mandir. I got so caught up in everything that I forgot one of my basic services that I do on Mondays. So I hit the ground running today, coming running here to be sure there was enough Tulsi leaves, and there was, but I realized that it's Gurudev carrying what I lack and preserving what I have. On your point about having a wonderful ecstatic festival day and then ending the day watching some show or playing a computer game or whatever, my addiction is chess. I'm addicted to chess. So and I'm guilty also. Yesterday I played a game of chess. So my question is that a symptom of spiritual jaundice? Rather than see it as just a controlling, enjoying spirit, it's possibly that it's just spiritual jaundice manifesting.
Can you explain what you mean by spiritual jaundice, please?
Well, in other words, you want to keep the festival going. In other words, in the day reading the glories of Lord Balaram in the Krishna book, having hot milk or you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Instead of watching on the show or playing the computer game, why am I not taking advantage like that? And I'm seeing it as jaundice because the taste isn't there, right? Oh yes, I've heard about Lord Balaram. Well, let's hear about Lord Balaram again. Let's hear about him more because it's unlimited. So that's my question.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate this question because it's allowing me to clarify a little bit about what I was mentioning in the sense of this enjoyment. The real thermometer is it getting in the way of our devotional service? Because even Krishna says that we need a certain amount of recreation, right? And that can be looked at and understood with intelligence that is part of our devotional service. So there's nothing wrong with playing a game of chess. That's what I do at 7 o'clock in the day, and it helps me to live with joy and be able to serve differently. That's understandable. However, when we are doing these things that get in the way of our devotional service and this devotional service that we know that we should do, then we have a real problem, right? For instance, if in your mind came up, I need to go do my Tulsi Puja service, but I want to play a few more games of chess, that's kind of an indicator that maybe there's some trouble there. Does that make sense? Exactly, that's what I'm hearing. Exactly. That's why I'm saying that mistakes happen, but there's a difference between making a mistake and then having a desire for sense gratification that gets in the way of our devotional service. Does that make sense? The mistakes happen. I mean, we have a wonderful festival and we're happy and, things happen. The thing is that sometimes we get into the point where our happiness or distress lead us to making choices that we even can see and know and decide to continue, to do that. And that's a real indicator of that we have some room to go, So I appreciate the point that I can clarify that mistakes happen, just because we do some things and we make a mistake and forget our devotional service, mistakes. However, do we see patterns in our life where we know what we should do? We know what our service is, And because of happiness or in distress, we don't do those things. You see what I'm saying? Then that's a real indicator that we have to, we should be consulting other devotees and understanding how to, purify ourselves, or asking the questions about what do I need to do in my devotional service to get more purified, and so that I'm not so off-put by happiness and distress. Does that make sense, Mother Kunti? What do you think?
Tulsi Devi actually sent me 2 hints yesterday. Herself. She sent me 2 big hints. And I remembered them when I woke up today. It didn't even cross my mind. Like, I wasn't playing my game of chess thinking, well, I really need to run out to the Tulsi house. It never even, there was no concept. All I could think of is that it's blistering hot outside, and I'm not going outside for any reason. But I was only thinking about myself, but in the wrong way, I think.
Well, I think it's wonderful that Tulsi Devi was giving you those messages and that you did realize them the next day. That's very
saw
sweet.
it this morning.
That's very nice.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mother Kunti. Prema.
Hare Krishna. I have a thought on this, and then I also have another thought on other things that you were speaking about. I don't know if your thought is your thought on this? Okay, yeah, maybe you can go for. I'll try. Okay. Well, one thought that I had, kind of not on your particular situation, but on something that you said about recreation, we need recreation. I've just been thinking about for myself, actually, yesterday, I've been actually doing pretty good with staying away from media and YouTube and stuff like that for a couple weeks. But yesterday, it was Balaram Purnima, and I don't know why. For some reason, at the end of the day, I felt so lethargic, and I just wanted to, watch a couple YouTube videos, and so I did, and I knew I have a little stuffy of Baladev. I was like, what am I doing? Anyways, but I was just thinking, yes, we do need recreation, but there's recreation in the modes. So we need to make sure the recreation that we are doing is not in the lower modes. Chess is cool. Chess isn't going to contaminate your consciousness. Balaram played chess, wonderful. YouTube videos, however, I can steer myself. The ones that I was watching weren't awful, but there's definitely little jokes that were made, or Netflix movies, or whatever other type of recreation there may be. There just might be some things that enter your consciousness while you're engaging in that come into your consciousness again during japa the next day, or they just kind of bring you down a little bit for a longer period of time. So this is we need to be very careful about the brand of recreation we participate in. I think probably things like chess or being out in nature, swimming, these are the ideal, sports, these are probably the best forms of recreation. Did you want to comment on this before I change this?
She's got a question about something else, so stay on the same.
Well, I was thinking while this conversation was going on, and I was thinking I too had a letdown afterwards, a sense of, whew, and I believe, this is the world of duality, and it's built on waves, not particles. So we're up, and then we're down. Can you hear me now? It's, the world of duality, and it's built on waves, not particles, and so as much as particles, so it's up and down, and that's, I think, what a lot of us went through after that ecstatic thing that happened yesterday morning. But I also want to say that I had lunch with Mother Kunti, and she was so very helpful to me in something that was distressing me. And so I can't hardly think, I'm obviously a neophyte, but I can't hardly think that you making a mistake about that and playing chess in any way diminishes your wonderful, wonderful service that you do and how much you provide to the devotees. Thank
Hari
you. Hare
Bol.
Krishna.
So, one thing I'd like to say is that after a festival like this, it's very common that we have some separation, some feelings of separation. We were just around devotees, we had this wonderful festival, and so then we leave it and we go, there's something in us that goes, people will perceive that differently depending on their modes, Some people will, the thing I'm trying to really connect is that when we have that letdown, because distress is, even spiritual distress is there. Like the next morning, today, it was really nice. There was probably 10, 15 people there. But yesterday at Mangal Arti, there was like 40, 50 people, And so when you come in, and of course it's Mangal Arti, it's nice, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that, but still there's a little in you that goes, that festival was so nice yesterday. But what do we do with it? Do we continue to, do we let us, it's what we do that really shows us our grit. And that's what's really important in thinking about, happiness and distress. What do we do with it? Go ahead, Gokulananda Prabhu, please.
Thank you, Prabhu. You're always you're so expert in churning our real practical problems. Thank you. So I was thinking, devotee association is like an armor, protective armor. So when I'm here, surrounded by the devotees, my instincts or my inclinations, they don't come out. But as soon as that armor is taken off, all those conditionings, they start popping up. I remember, I think I've shared this also before. Gaurang Prabhu once he mentioned, if you see the structure of the planetary system, lower planetary, middle planetary, as you go up, those tendencies within the conditioned soul, they start slackening off. Like demigods, he said, demigods, they do Mangalarti morning program and then rest of the day they're in the Nandan Kanan garden enjoying, you see. But then Kadamba Kanan Swami, he answered this question and that really touched my heart. He said, just like Prabhupada said, right, you switch the fan off and it will take some time, it will keep rotating. So Kadamba Kanan Swami said, do not focus on the negativities within you. Just focus on the positive aspects of Krishna consciousness. And that fan in due course of time will, come to 0 point. And the other quick point, you touched my heart by, speaking about how Prabhupada went through all those austerities. Thank you very much for bringing that up. And I can vouch to it. I was 40 when I came to the US for the first time in 2015 in New York. I didn't have any clue. I came from India. I have never seen any such weather. And it wasn't even a blizzard, snow blizzard. I had to commute to Bhakti Center, from the point where you get off the railway station, you have to walk up to Bhakti Center. It takes about 15 minutes. Let me tell you, I had such a tough time. I had such a tough time with that cold breeze during that freezing winter. My eyes would be constantly watering. And I cannot explain the feelings that I went through. And whatever you spoke, right, about Srila Prabhupada, and I was thinking that time, old man, 70, and I had the jacket and everything. He didn't even have those, winter clothings properly. And a couple of years back, I saw one video somebody shared. You spoke about his slippers. Those were Indian slippers, and there was a hole in it. And he just taped it. He put a newspaper and he taped it, something like that. Can you imagine? And then you added, which I was not aware, that he had to walk for like 15 minutes to go to the restroom. So it literally watered my eyes.
Thank you, Prabhu. I really appreciate your point to focus on the good things, right? Such a good point. We're wired really to be negative, right? And Krishna consciousness is so wonderful. If we focus on Krishna, the most wonderful, then we'll get through these things. Really wonderful point.
I guess so I kind of had a question, but I think that it's the type of question that we could just like all kind of take home and reflect on. Prabhupada Priya shared something yesterday on WhatsApp or some time ago about Radhanath Swami was speaking about Srila Prabhupada's coming to America, and he made the observation that when Srila Prabhupada was coming to America, he did not pray. This is, this goes along with the theme of today's class. He didn't pray, "Oh Krishna, please let there be somebody at the dock to pick me up." That would have been a perfectly logical prayer. Like, I mean, at least to me, like, not for a pure devotee, I guess, but for me, I'm like, what? Yeah, I mean, please let there be somebody to pick me up. Come on. I don't know where I'm going. Krishna, if you could just put somebody there for me, that would be really great. But he didn't pray like that. He didn't pray anything like that. His prayer was, "Krishna, you must have some business here. You brought me here. I took note of a few parts that like stuck out to me. He said, "I'm simply praying for your mercy so that I may be able to convince them of your message. I'm like a puppet, so if you have brought me here to dance, just make me dance." He didn't pray for any comfort. He didn't pray for any facility. He didn't pray for any ease in his service. He just prayed for the service. And so, I mean, at my level, I understand that I'm not there, so I'm not too hard on myself about that. He's a pure devotee, and I'm a very conditioned soul, so I know that there's a big difference. But, he prayed like this, and he set the example, so we do want to rise to that level. And so my meditation, my question that I was going to ask, but maybe it can just be like an open question, is how Srila Prabhupada made this like leap of faith, this huge leap of faith. How can I practice taking small steps of faith so that it can build, my trust in Krishna's plan can build, and one day I'll be able to, follow in his footsteps more closely. So yeah, you can answer that, talk about it if you want, or yeah.
Manjari Gopika, raise your hand very enthusiastically.
Hare Krishna. This is just Manjari Gopika's thinking on that. Nobody special, but I think you kind of answered your own question, which is, in order to, how do I build my faith so that when I'm in a situation and I don't know what to do, I can take a leap of faith? And I think it's Nanda Braj Prabhu's point as well, is to practice doing your devotional service, whether you feel like it or not, in times of happiness or distress. Sometimes maybe we go to the Sunday feast every week, but then one day we get in a fight with our spouse. And you go, well, what the heck? I'm not going. And you go in your room and you slam the door and whatever, you put on Netflix. It's these kinds of moments where you don't feel like showing up, but you go, but it's pleasing to Krishna and I'm going to do it anyway. Just like there are so many sannyasis who, in the last few years, are Maharajas who have left their bodies in Mayapur and Vrindavan on their deathbeds, and they're still chanting in so much pain with their cancer. I know Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj, he had cancer, and his spiritual master Jayadvaita Swami said, "You don't have to chant 16 rounds. For you, chanting just one will be your 16." Because it was taking him so long to chant one round. It was so painful for him to even speak the mantra. But he had that and he said, "No, I'm going to keep chanting." But how do we think he was able to do that when it was so painful to even speak? Because I think of all of those years where he chanted when he was happy and unhappy and traveling and in whatever time zone. So I think if we just follow in the footsteps of our spiritual masters to serve regardless, that then when the time comes, Krishna will give us the courage to make a big leap.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Pramanande. Vanchikalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Hare Krishna.